In the wise words of Kenosuke Takeshita,
Let's fucking go!
Let's go!
yes, let's fucking go. Established in 1966 by all nations around the world in response to the worldwide outbreaks of kaiju disasters, the Global Guardian Force (GGF) deals with kaiju and alien life forms attacks on Earth. Today, the Earth sees the continuing destruction of nature and rapid rise in global warming. One night, the kaiju named Bazanga appears. The GGF's cleanup operation was unsuccessful, and the special force led by Gento Hiruma find themselves in a desperate situation. This is where a mysterious giant emerges from light. It is the unidentified humanoid alien that's been rumored around astronauts for decades, codename Ultraman. Later, Gento is summoned to the command center where he is officially appointed as the commander of SCARD, short for Special Kaiju Reaction Detachment, a team that has been secretly formed leading a special unit that pilots a giant kaiju-type robot artillery, Earth Garon, to respond with the kaiju disasters, while Gento is ordered to investigate the Ultraman from the Battle of Bazanga to determine if it's a threat that needs to be eliminated or not. Gento has flashback of a faraway galaxy, a shared memory with Blazar. Captain Gento, shrouded by Blazar's light, with the unique members of the newly organized SCARD, throws themselves into the battle against kaiju with courage and unwavering sense of justice. It's a really interesting premise. I think there is a lot of stuff that's really cool about it. The idea that pretty much 56 years in that universe, SCARD was never needed is really interesting. And SCARD being pretty much built in the first episode probably is going to be really cool, and it's a really nice homage to Mebius because the form of guys that we saw in the rest of the show is not the one from the first episode. So that's really cool. It's a thing that I really liked about Guys. It's really cool that Blazar kind of traveled around space enough for astronauts to see him and kind of pretty much make rumors about him. That's really cool. Let's talk about our protagonist and host of Ultraman Blazar, Gento Hiruma. Yes, it is the same actor that played Heart in Kamen Rider Drive, which it's really cool, but that's not the point. Gento is the oldest protagonist in the entire show's history. I'm talking about just the show, not including Ultraman the Next, where Maki and Gento are around the same age, and also both of them have a wife and a child. So there is some parallels here to both Gento and Maki. And also he's the first protagonist of an Ultraman show that's also the captain of the team. It's going to be kind of interesting how they're going to execute his character development, because Ultraman does have its character archetypes. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see how they're going to play him up and how they're going to develop him for the rest of the season. I think one of the more interesting parts about him is the thing that he and Blazar kind of share memory, or at least he shares Blazar's memory. So probably it's going to be the big mystery of what's his connection to Blazar. Maybe it's Blazar calling out to him. Maybe Gento has a bit of Blazar's light inside of him, and because of that, he and Blazar can actually share memories. So that's really cool. If I already mentioned Ultraman Blazar, let's talk about it. Design-wise, Ultraman Blazar looks great. I really like the blue parts on his head. There is something really cool about them, this connection to Ginga, because Ginga did have something very similar to this, so that's kind of interesting. His body being kind of silver and having the blue and the red very much weirdly reminds me of Nexus. Not only Nexus being purely silver, but in the beginning of Nexus's title card, there is the blue and red DNA streams kind of clashing together, and that's like the first big connection that I drew. Is like, oh, that's really cool. I don't know if it was intended, but Blazar is very well designed, and I really like his finisher. He doesn't have a beam, but he kind of generates energy that kind of transforms into like a spear, or it's just a javelin that he just chugs it at his enemies. That's really cool. And with Blazar, there is a new birthplace to Ultra, being M421. But the most interesting parts about it, it's an actual Blazar. So, like, tell the truth, I'm not an astrophysicist, so I have no clue what a Blazar is, but it doesn't sound like a planet. So is Blazar's backstory going to be similar to Noah's? Noah was born out of a supernova. Blazar was born because of a formation of a Blazar. It's really cool to see more of the universe of Ultraman kind of expanding outside of, you know, the Neo Frontier, Land of Light, the New Generation Neo Frontier, the World of End, and many more. So yeah, that's really cool. Again, I like the idea of the mystery of how Blazar came to be and how he and our protagonist share this connection. I really like the look of Earth Garon, specifically like the color scheme really works, and him being way more based on something original because he doesn't look a monster that already existed before, so this is completely new and it's really cool. And if I can return to talk about Blazar for a bit, in my opinion, the biggest reveal of today is literally Blazar has one form. That's it. He doesn't have two, he doesn't have three, he has one. It's almost like we are returning to the beginning of Ultraman in the New Generation era, with Ginga and Ginga S, with both Ginga and Victory not having two forms. Yes, Victory does have a secondary form, but he got it in a side special. And Ginga's secondary form is basically nothing because it's the Ginga suit just with added details on his traps and on his head, so that doesn't count really as a form for me. And for something that I never expected to say ever, and that is the gimmicks don't matter, at least in the show, because the trailer showed us just Gento using the Blazar store and nothing else. So it would be interesting to see how the toy sales would look like at the end of Blazar's run, and if Blazar would be a success, not only, you know, the show, but also toy wise, maybe they would kind of let off the gimmick for a little bit. And if Blazar would be a success, maybe even Toei would look at Tsuburaya like, oh, that works, so let's do that also. It's even crazier because this is supposed to be the 10th anniversary of the New Generation era. This is the era where like the gimmicks really began, but Blazar feels way more close to the Heisei era of Ultraman, where they were a lot more experimental. They tried to kind of play around with what Ultraman can be, and if Blazar would be successful, maybe we would get some sort of a second renaissance of a lot of shows that kind of resembles what the Heisei era of Ultraman used to be. Again, like a Tiga, like a Dyna, like a Gaia, like a Cosmos, and Nexus, and Max, and even Mebius. All of those shows were different from each other, and all of those shows were also different than the Show era and the New Generation, where the New Generation kind of feels samey from time to time. Even the Show era kind of feels from time to time very samey as well. This show feels like everything that Taguchi worked on, from Ultraman X to Orb to Z, just fusing into one show, and that's great because those three are absolutely the best of the New Generation era, and there is nothing that makes me more happy seeing Taguchi direct another season of Ultraman. The release date of Ultraman Blazar is July 8th, subbed, and for the first time ever, dubbed. From what I understand, it's not going to be day one dubbed. I think it's going to be on the same week. So if you want to watch a dub, you will need to wait a couple of days, but it's still great because it gives people options. So yeah, what you thought about the big reveal? Are you hyped for Ultraman Blazar? Comment below, let me know. Subscribe to my channel if you didn't. Have a great rest of your day.